So if you would, take a moment, put down your goal for the next test that you would take realistically, put down 2 or 3 statements, positive statements that you could use, and then maybe 1 or 2 images that you would find helpful and useful. Now, this is what I would suggest to people, is that you take this with you. Right? A lot of times I tell people it's when they go to a test, they take it with them, they put it beside their desk. If the professor says anything, you can let them see it. And what that is it becomes a cue for you. As soon as you start to feel that increase in anxiety, is that you can refer to that. Okay, what is my target? What are my goals? Right? What are the 3 statements that I could use that are going to replace probably some of that negative or anxiety-producing self-talk? And what are the images that you want to kind of imagine? Right? That are obviously going to bring down that anxiety and replace some of those usually negative or anxiety-producing images. Right? I also tell people not only to keep it with them at the test site, at times put it on their screensaver, put it on their computer, put it on the windshield or the visor of their car. Right? The more you see it, right, the more it becomes automatic and habitual. Ways of working with test anxiety, the way that I look at it is we want to do two things. We want to interrupt it or we want to utilize it. Now, the thing with test anxiety is that it's kind of this loop, and we talked about the cycle. So if this is your brain and you experience some test anxiety, which is usually, real or imagined, what tends to happen is the brain says, okay, we're in a threat or emergency, and it sends out those chemicals. Right? The fight, flight, freeze. What happens is it goes into the body and then it comes back to the brain. Now, if nothing has changed, okay, nothing has been changed, what do you think it does again? It dumps it back in. Nothing has changed again, it dumps it back in. So the key to this is somewhere in this feedback loop is finding a way of interrupting it. And there's multiple different ways that we can go about doing that we'll talk about. The other way that we could work with anxiety, and the way that I like to work with it myself personally, is, as I utilize it. I use it as a signal. Right? When I start to feel anxious, that's my signal telling me that I need to make some changes. And I thank it. I embrace it. Thank you. So we talked about the anxiety feedback loop. The key to the relationship between anxiety and relaxation is the body-mind feedback loop. The mind not only directs the body, it gets feedback from it as well. So if you confront real or imagined danger, the mind sends a message to the body to tense up. As long as the tension lingers, when the mind checks on the body, it recognizes tension and figures that we're still in danger. However, if we breathe fully, we talk, and we'll go over that, we breathe fully to ease tension in the body. When the mind checks back on the body, it recognizes the lack of tension and concludes that we're not in trouble anymore. The anxiety will lessen. Ways of interrupting it, right? The easiest is breathe. Breathing is absolutely probably the most important and effective skill to reduce anxiety. And people say, well, that's too easy, that's too simple, and it isn't. Right? When people start to become anxious, their breathing changes. It's, when we're relaxed and we're in that calm state, our breathing is down here. When we become anxious, it starts to work its way up to this area. Right? And when it's here, it moves much quicker, which then produces a lot of those other physical symptoms. Right? So by just breathing deeply can have a significant impact, right? So we start to experience it, we take 3 or 4 deep breaths, it gets back to the brain and says false alarm. And we're going to practice some breathing here in a moment. The other thing is at times I tell people when they start to feel anxious is to tense up and then release. Tense up and then release, right? Change and dispute their thinking. So again, over there we start to experience that. We need to check in on our thinking. And we start to challenge or dispute it. How accurate is what I'm thinking right now? Am I seeing the full picture? What evidence do I have that supports the way that I'm thinking? And by just challenging it that time and taking a step back and not taking it at face value at times is enough to interrupt that cycle once again. I always tell people too, if you're starting to feel anxious, Have water beside you. Take a drink. That could be enough to interrupt that cycle. Ask the instructor a question. Whatever you do, get up, do something, could interrupt it, or eat something. Take some snacks with you. Okay? But we want to make sure that we're interrupting that in some way, shape, or form. You do not want to continue to be there and experience that cycle. Breath is the most important. How to utilize it? When I start to feel anxious, I utilize it as a signal telling me. It's a cue, it's a trigger, it's telling me, breathe, Randy. Breathe. Or it could be a cue for me to say, okay, I got to retrieve the right self-talk and the right images. So I don't go, oh no, I can't, here it is, I can't handle this. What I say is, oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me know it's time to really, in a sense, take 3 or 4 deep breaths. Thank you for telling me I need to really check in on what I'm saying to myself and what I'm thinking. So it's a helpful, useful, built-in mechanism. Right? No different than when your car, the little light comes on saying you need gas. Right? That's really helpful and useful. Right? You fill up, the light goes off. Very similar with the anxiety. Right? You start to feel that, you embrace it, take some breaths, it lessens. Breathing. Once you can control your breathing patterns, you're on the road to success. For some people, just modifying and learning how to do that, right, is enough for them to get to that right level. So learning how to breathe. So for people, what I do a lot of work with right off the start is just telling them, okay, let's do some breathing exercises. So I just really talk to them about getting in a comfortable position, wherever it may be, and just really, in a sense, really focusing on their breath and making sure what they breathe in from down here. They hold it for a second or two. They let it all the way out. And then they breathe in again. They hold it. They let it all the way out. And usually after about 3 or 4 deep breaths, people start to realize that the anxiety can come down. Right? For some people, they've practiced it enough, it can be 2 deep breaths. Right? Other people, maybe 10. But what I tell people is the breath is the most important thing. Because it not only does it bring it down, but it brings you back to the present moment. Right? And it connects the body and mind, which is vital. So one of the things that I would suggest is that throughout the day, practice that breathing. Start to notice if you start to feel that, right? Again, a signal telling you to just breathe deeply and easily. Relaxation. Breathing is part of that, but learning how to relax is pretty important and vital. One of the things is that it's physiologically impossible to be relaxed and anxious at the same time. So if you're able to learn how to relax yourself, right, you're not going to be able to feel anxious at the same time. So relaxation is a very important skill. Ways of relaxing, deep breathing, and muscle relaxation are the 2 that I work on. With breathing, I'll work with people. It's just about taking 10 deep breaths, 4 or 5 deep breaths. And it's not just the times that you feel anxious. Right? It's throughout the day that you start to learn how to do that so you can utilize it when needed. It's like anything. The more that you do it, the better you become at it. So it's not only when you feel anxious, it's throughout the day that you can use to become better at relaxing yourself. Deep muscle relaxation. What we'll do is we'll just try one. I'll just kind of take you through a very short 2-3 minute relaxation muscle exercise. So what I would tell people is wherever they may be, they can just sit comfortably. If they want, they can close their eyes for a moment or two. And they can just start by taking a nice, deep, relaxing, cleansing breath in, and you hold it, and you let it all the way out. That's right. And you can take another deep breath in and hold it and let it all the way out. That's right. And you can just kind of imagine, if you would, kind of a soothing, comfortable ray of relaxation starting to kind of cover your body from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And you can just imagine that soothing, comfortable, relaxing ray of relaxation starting to absorb into your scalp, into your forehead. That's right. Your cheeks, your chin, your mouth. It continues to flow down into your neck, your shoulders. That soothing, comfortable ray continues to flow down into your back, absorbing into every muscle, every fiber. Any stress, anxiety just kind of melts off and away. And it continues to flow down into your chest and your stomach, and with every breath you take in and you take out, you can just relax even more deeply, even more comfortably. And that soothing, comfortable, relaxing ray of relaxation continues to flow down into your legs, the back of your legs, down into your shins, your calves, your feet, and the bottom of your feet. And just feeling more relaxed and calm from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. That's right. And you can open up your eyes, feeling wide awake. Yeah. Again, 2 or 3 minutes, right? Usually a lot of times when I work with people, I spend much more time and really focus on certain things. But again, just for you to experience that, to be able to close your eyes and kind of take yourself through that can be very helpful and useful. And again, right, if you're relaxed, you're not going to be feeling anxious. So having the ability and recognizing that you have the ability to relax yourself is very important and empowering for a lot of people. The last is just mental rehearsal, using your imagination to create a mental image of yourself performing at your optimal level. Right? So I tell people it's not only you're studying and preparing for the test of the knowledge, but I also encourage them to really, in a sense, take some time to work on their mental preparation, to vividly imagine themselves taking the test at the optimal level, the way that they'd want to do that. Right? It'd be no different if I was working with an athlete, if I was working with a figure skater, right? Is that I would, if we were working on things, a specific jump, right? I would suggest that she would go home and she would vividly imagine her making that jump the way that she'd want to, right? Because we've talked about the brain doesn't know the difference between us vividly imagining and doing it. Right? So taking time as you're studying, preparing for a test, for you to mentally rehearse the way that you'd want to perform that could be extremely useful and powerful. The other thing is research has shown it by just recalling a positive experience prior to your test, right? So if you were to sit down and you were to vividly imagine a positive experience, the research has shown over and over again that the results increase dramatically in scores by just experiencing and imagining a positive experience prior to your test. Usually, if you're experiencing anxiety, what are you imagining and mentally rehearsing? Usually right? Not doing well, worst case scenarios, right? Or past failures, right? So again, that narrow and constricts. We want to make sure that we're experiencing or thinking about what we do want. What I'll do now is just take you through, again, maybe a 3 or 4 minute exercise on just how to vividly imagine yourself performing at the level that you'd want. So usually when I do this type of work, we kind of incorporate some of the breathing in. So what we could do is you could just take a moment again to make yourself comfortable. You can just start again by taking a nice deep breath in, letting it all the way out. Right? And for some people it's even helpful and useful is that as they breathe in, they breathe in relaxation. And when they exhale, they just kind of let go of any of that stress or anxiety. And breathing in relaxation and letting go of all that stress and anxiety. And as you sit there kind of breathing in and breathing out, you can just be curious about how you're going to start to utilize some of these skills that you've learned today. And what I like you to do is just use your creative imagination for a moment and just vividly, as much as possible, imagine yourself going in for your next test. Imagine yourself walking into the classroom, sitting down in the chair. Just kind of tune into your breathing. Notice that breathing. If you start to feel or imagine yourself kind of becoming anxious, you can just, once again, take a few deep breaths and bring yourself right back to that optimal level. Not too high, not too low. You can just mentally rehearse saying those statements that you've created here today. Those positive statements of perhaps saying to yourself, feeling calm, feeling confident, saying to yourself, relaxed. That's right. Just getting right into that right level for you as an individual. And as you sit there and you can vividly imagine yourself starting to take the test, you can perhaps just really, in a sense, see yourself and feel yourself feeling confident, relaxed, just allowing things to flow. And at any time you start to feel or see yourself becoming a little bit anxious or those negative thoughts come in, you can just have a sense of inner confidence that you have the skills and abilities to change that. And once again, you can just take a deep breath in and get right back to that level. Feeling confident, feeling relaxed. And you may even start to notice that with every question that you answer, you start to even feel calmer, more confident, and more relaxed. And just notice how that feels, to see, to feel. And perhaps any of the sounds that usually distract you, just even calm and relax you even more. And you can just kind of experience and vividly imagine yourself performing at that right level from the start, the test, to the end of the test. That's right. And you can even imagine and see yourself kind of handing in that test to the professor and just really feeling good about it. Knowing that you did your very best. You not only prepared, or knowledgeable about the content, but you really prepared mentally. You did all the things that you needed to do to be able to perform at your best. That's right. And you can open up your eyes, feeling wide awake. Okay. Once again, 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. One of the things that I do with a lot of people that I work with is that I make audio recordings for them. Right? So they'll come in and we'll kind of specialize it to whatever it is that they want to work on. Right? And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take them through a 10 or 15 minute relaxation exercise that we talked about, kind of the muscle relaxing exercise. And then what we'll do is we talk about and kind of take them through kind of a mental rehearsal of what they would want on that day. So starting in the morning of perhaps how they want to prepare for that. And then obviously helping them mentally rehearse the way that they want to perform during their test. And part of it is the more that they do that, right, the more benefit they get. And a lot of times on test day, what I suggest to them is to listen to it as they get to the test site. Right? I tell a lot of people is that you'll see a lot of people at the test site and they're listening, they got their headphones on and you think they're listening to music. And I think you'd be surprised how many of them perhaps at times are listening to me in just that recording. Right? This is the thing, is practice, practice, practice. These skills are not going to happen like that. Part of it is you have to be committed to really, in a sense, practicing them, changing those behaviors, and those feelings will tend to follow. Okay, well, thank you. If any of you want any more information or would ever want an audio, please feel free to call me at my office or email me at rbarker@uwsuper.edu, and I'd be more than happy to make you an audio recording specific for your needs and wants. And then what I do is I just send it to you electronically so you can download it and use it whenever you can. Again, just know that these things can make a significant difference for you. So once again, if any of you have any questions or want more information, please feel free to contact me. And thank you very much for being here today. And hopefully you'll be able to use some of these things. Okay, thank you.